Hello everybody, welcome back to another Mortal Jellyfish video. Now, you guys have been asking me for a tier list forever, and just look how this thing looks. There's now 29 kits in Bedwars. I don't know how I'm going to keep fitting more kits on my tier list. They're just going to have to become one giant mobbed pile of kits over there on the right side, and then I'll move them and try and sort them out as we go. But yeah, there's just so many kits, and with how my format is for these, it's really hard. I might have to change it up a bit or something because it is getting very hard to fit all these in here. That said, I do make Bed Wars content pretty often, so make sure to like and subscribe for more Bed Wars content. On that note, this is a tier list video, as it is obvious that it is. And yeah, I'm basically, since there's 29 kits, we're gonna just try and speed run these. I'm gonna give you a small reason about the kit, drop it in its rank, and that's it. We're not gonna talk about it too much. If you guys want to debate it with me in the comment section. I'm more than happy to do so with you. Yeah, and obviously everybody's gonna have different opinions, so try to debate like a human being and not an animal. Let's not get too wild down there in the comment section. All right, let's enjoy ourselves. Let's have fun, and yeah, let's just see what everybody honestly thinks is the best kits. And anyways, I'll get going with mine. So starting right off for me, I have Amy, or Axolotl Amy, or Amy Axolotl, I don't know. It's Amy, okay? Anyways, Amy. Very versatile kit, has lots of different axolotls, shields, damage, healing, and it scales all the way from decent early game to late game. Super versatile kit. Don't think you can go wrong with the Amy kit. Still to this day, it still seems rather strong to me. And just for it coming out as a solid kit with lots of utility and lots of versatility, where it can be good in solo, but it can also be good in squads, Amy's S tier for me. So hopefully you guys understand that. Amy's S tier. I think that's a good early S tier for us because Amy is a solid kit. If you don't have Amy, try to pick Amy up. It's a good kit. Next up, we got Archer. And now with Vanessa coming out, Archer's obviously got to come down some spaces because I personally find Vanessa as the better bow kit than Archer. So I've moved Archer down to B tier. Not a worthless kit, not as good as his prime days. You got to remember, these earlier kits are starting kind of age out with the game. All these new items, all these other things, they're starting to age away with the game. Anyways, next up is Ares. Now, people are not going to like where I'm putting Ares, but I do not like consumable kits, and I don't like the Ares kit either. I understand spears do decent chunk of damage, and they can weigh the win in a fight, but I'm putting Ares in C tier. I just don't like spending a ton of iron on spears unless it's really late game and I just have an entire bulk of iron that I don't need. Next up, we got Baker, and I'm putting Baker in A tier. Apples and Speed Pie. Apple buff was pretty good, so late game those apples really show and shine in a fight. And then, you know, Speed Pies are Speed Pies. You can't go wrong there. Next up, I have Barbarian on our list here. And Barbarian, obviously, easy S tier. Easiest thing to put in S tier you'll ever see. Now, there's going to be someone who goes, but if you're bad at PvP, Barb is not good. And yeah, I guess that's somewhat true, but you could just bow spam or other stuff to get your Rage Blade. But yeah, I mean, Barb is just nasty. You know, he was already a S tier material. He got an insane buff. Now he's just permanent S tier until we see a nerf or something from him. Next up, we got Beekeeper. Now, for Beekeeper, I have Beekeeper in C tier. Now, I put Beekeeper in C tier because I just don't feel like Beekeeper is the most superior farming kits, let alone I don't think any farming kit is like overly superior. It takes really good defense and watching your enemies and making sure not to lose your bed if you're going to play farming kits. And just Beekeeper, you're wondering, so you're not really getting to do that too much. Anyways, next one, we got Bounty Hunter, and Bounty Hunter is an all-around decent kit. It's really decent in duels or 1v1s. But like in things like squads or 30v30, it gets really hard to get your specific target and get the loot and get out. And so for that, I feel like Bounty Hunter has kind of fallen off with time a little bit since Season 1. It's not a bad kit by any means, but I personally just don't ever really use it a lot. And so for that, I'm going to put it in D tier. That might be a spot too low. Maybe it could go in C tier, but you know, I think D tier is not a bad spot for it. It does have a very niche pick for game mode wise. You can't just really put the Beekeeper into anything and go with it. Next up, I got Builder, and Builder's going to be B tier now for me. Now, hear me out. I know a lot of people still think Builder is absolutely terrible, but if you put Builder in a farming group like Fisherman's or whatever, or Beekeeper, something that's going to cause you more iron generation so that you're not going to feel drained by a Builder upgrading blocks, The anti-TNT these are going to add is super, super good. So Builder is definitely something I think people are sleeping on a little bit. It definitely has come a long way. The block health is now what it actually is. It's immune to TNT when upgraded, so it's actually not a half bad kit anymore. And that's going to bring us into our next one, Davey. And I'm putting Davey in E tier. Now, he used to be a solid F tier kit for me, and some people may not even want him in E tier, maybe a little bit higher. The best thing, the only reason he's moving up one spot is the fact that they gave him a TNT discount. This kit is still basically pointless to use the cannon whatsoever. The only reason to really use Davey now is so you can get the cheaper TNT and then bomb somebody's base yourself. You're really not ever going to use that cannon whatsoever. Next up, I got Elder Tree, and Elder Tree is going to be A tier for me. Now, Elder Tree does fall off later game, that's no surprise to anybody, but I think it has some of the strongest early game rush potential out of any kit in the game, just due to the fact that you're going to pick up some extra health on the way to your enemy's base. You instantly outmatch them because they can't afford armor yet. So yeah, Elder Tree, in my opinion, has a really, really solid early game, and for that I think it's A tier, because rushing is still works with a good team. Although it's not as easy as it ever was. It was a whole lot easier before. And that's next up, that's Farmer. And Farmer's going D tier, and this might make my Farmer mains upset, and I apologize. But I'm sorry, Beekeeper just, to me, is faster at farming. And they've done nothing with Farmer. Farmer's just slowly falling off. The best thing Farmer can do is just bunker down in his base, where Beekeeper actually has to go out and about. But with how people play, and most everybody just rushes because that's the way YouTubers, including myself, have kind of made people play the game in a sense. It can be hard to bunker down sometimes unless you have a map that covers you on all sides except an entranceway. Then that's decently easy to hold. But yeah, Farmer just does not farm fast enough. I feel like he needs a little buffer, a little something put into him. So for now, yeah, he's gonna stay D tier, and that's gonna bring us into Fisherman. Now I believe Fisherman is the best farming kit. He can stay at his island, he can fish peacefully, and then you may be like, well, you get a lot of bad fishes. Well, there's a kind of a niche way around this, and you can like take a step. If you walk while playing the minigame, like you go, pulls the minigame up, you see an ironfish, you take a quick step, boom, you're good, you're on your way to start your next fishing, and you didn't have to waste your time fishing up that ironfish. So yeah, I mean, if you do that, I really feel like Fisherman steps ahead and takes the best spot for fishing and farming. So Fisherman's A tier for me. I think if you're going to play farming kit, this is probably going to be the best one at the minute, unless something else changes with the other farming kits or another farming kit comes out. Next up, we got Freiya, the newest kit to be added to Bedwars, and Freiya I've stuck in C tier. Now, she may be more B tier and stuff, but she has no end game. Because Ice Sword replaces Emerald Sword, and Emerald Sword does 15 more damage than the Ice Sword, it feels really hard to compete late game against Emerald Swords. And that's just the blunt truth of it. Now, it does have a good power spike in the area where people have diamond armor and diamond swords. It is really strong there because it's got I think it's like 5 extra damage on a diamond sword. So it's got the advantage there, but nonetheless, Freiya C tier. People can't run from you as easy, stuff like that, so it's not half bad. Ghost Hunter. Now, there's some big fans of Ghost Hunter. They love the knockback on the ghost, they love the damage it deals, but I just don't like it. 60 iron's a lot for vacuum, and then I have to go hunt down ghosts to use this. That's a lot of downtime I'm spending, and a lot of, in my opinion, iron for an item, and so I mean, it just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this kit, and that's why I've put it in D tier today. But yeah, let me know if you guys think differently, of course. As always, you know. I like to see your guys' opinion. Next up, I have Shielder. Now, Shielder is going to be F tier this time around. Now, I used to be a Shielder player, and I loved this kit when it came out. I was super happy with it, super cool back in the day. But with all the new items and all the new kits that have been added, this kit has aged poorly. And if anybody disagrees, I'm sorry, but it really has. Like, we got so much explosive knockbacks and other stuff. Like, Shielder, like, he goes to shield and walk down a bridge because he's being bow spammed. Oh, there's a spirit catcher. Boom, off the bridge you go. Oh, there's an Ares. Boom, off the bridge you go. You know, it's just, it does not work the way it used to work anymore. So I don't know. It's not a terrible kit. I mean, yeah, it is kind of a terrible kit. It needs a full rework, or it needs to be buffed again. It is really not shining these days, in my opinion. It has really fallen off, and it has aged with the game. Like, it does not, it used to fit really well in the early days, but doesn't fit in anymore really for me. So yeah, Shielder's F tier, and that's going to move us into Jack. Now, Jack is going to be E tier for me, so just one step above the old Shielder guy here in E tier. Now, I'm doing this with Jack because this stuff is very annoying. It still seems rather buggy to this day. Yeah, it costs emerald consumables. From what I've heard, I'm pretty sure it still kills your teammates and you, or just annoys them. And yeah, the kit needs fixed. I don't know why it's still in the state it is. It's just a wild kit to be there. Next up, I got Jade, and now Jade is in A tier. This used to be one of my S tier kits, and I used to love it a lot. During the Dodo season, I think I rated it a little lower because Dodo birds were kind of replacing that speed. But now, with current day and age, Jade's movement speed is back in play again here. Now, speed potions do take away from this to some point, which is why she's not S tier. But a rotation from the hammer, or just stopping fall damage and all the other perks you get with the hammer, is still good. So if you got Jade from Season 1, it's an A tier kit. Still really, really good. Next up, I got Lassie, and Lassie I'm putting in F tier. Now, I know a lot of people are like, Jelly, she's so good, you can pull people into void. This kit, to me, is only good for fun, and this tier list is about kits being good. This kit's good for being fun, but not good at winning. I mean, you could win with anything. You could win with no kit, don't get me wrong. But Lassie, like, we're looking at what these kits can give us as an advantage. And with how slow her lasso is, how short the range is, it just, I don't know, it does not seem as good as it should. It is, it's a bit rough. I feel like it could be a whole lot better of a kit. And, yeah, just needs a little bit of a buff, I think. I think a little bit of buff could take Lassie a long ways. Of course, balloons, pearls, that kind of stuff's obviously going to counter her as well. So those are always going to be a problem later game for Lassie. Lassie really only works early game. Next up, though, Melody. Now, Melody I've put in B tier, and I know maybe people don't agree with that, but I think people sleep a little bit on Melody's heals. The whole heal, then swap to a sword, help a little bit, swap to a guitar, heal one time, swap back. It takes like 0.5 seconds if you're real fast at swapping to your heal and switching back to your sword. That's not going to affect you in combat. If anything, that's just going to give you and your teammates a little bit more health to work with. And for that, yeah, B tier, Melody. Been around for a long time, pretty slept on kit. Next up, Pyro. Pyro, my favorite kit. Used to be a solid S tier for me. I used to argue that Pyro was stronger than Barbarian. I used to argue that Flamethrower was stronger than Rageblade. And there was a lot of debates in my comment sections when I made these statements. Well, the developers saw a tanker video and then said, oh, you could shoot fire through walls. We're not having any more of that anymore. So yeah, I went and did some testing the day this patch came out. And you can have one block, so not on the ground, but one block floating in the air, and it will stop almost 180 degrees worth of angles of pyro. That right there is a problem. If I could shoot somebody with a bow right where they're standing because their arm's hanging out, or they're not completely behind the block, or, you know, I have an angle on them, or, you know, there's no block below them, so their whole feet are showing. Why is Pyro not hitting in those situations? I don't know. I could rant about this for a whole video, but they've destroyed the kit. And like it will never be the same except for against noob players who don't know how to build. Or, I mean, maybe a brittle build will be the way to go always now, because fire damage and range, get rid of that. It's pointless. So yeah, anyways, because of that, I've dropped down Pyro from S tier to B tier. It would be lower, but I think there is still some hope for a close range brittle build. Although, you know, that long range fire damage, that life is probably over for Pyro. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. And it's quite disappointing because I love the kit. Anyways, next up we got Raven. Now, earlier I rated Raven really low. In my worst kits video, I rated him low. But after some reconsideration and thinking about it, and there's a lot of counters to balloons in the game now. We have snowballs, we have rockets, so balloons aren't the biggest problem. But if balloons, for whatever reason, even outside snowballs, rockets, and every other way to counter balloons, are still bothering you, like, they still trump you, you get beat up, you can't beat them. Like, anytime someone pops balloons, they're your worst enemy. You just use Raven. You pop out the Raven, you fly it into them, it puts a poison on them. Every time they take a poison hit, they're going to lose a balloon. And I think it does more than like 6 ticks of damage, so they're going to, even if they have 6 balloons, they're going to fall. Okay? So Raven is good for balloons, and for that, I've put Raven in C tier.
So yeah, Raven C tier. If balloons are your worst enemies, if balloons aren't your worst enemies, you can almost pick any other kit. Because yeah, he has some potential against normal people, but mainly he's just a balloon counter at this rate. And next up we got Reaper. Now Reaper's a very weaker version of himself than he used to be in his former days, but he's not dead. As long as he's getting a lot of kills, he's still pretty viable on healing and running out and whatnot. So yeah, Reaper C tier for me. It's not a bad kit, it's just not as good as it used to be. Next up I got Spirit Catcher, and Spirit Catcher is also going to join the other two in C tier. You buy spirits for money. I don't like consumable kits, which is why none of them ever get rated really high for me. I just don't want to spend all game spending iron on something, unless, like I said, unless it gets real late game, then these kits come online because they have infinite resources to waste. But early on, you're losing armor upgrades, sword upgrades, stuff like that if you're spam buying other stuff. And I've seen a lot of people do it, and that is why they lose some games. Because I've beat a lot of people who are like, play Spirit Catcher, but they haven't bought no armor, nothing. All they've done is buy spirits and spam them around their base. And that can cause you to lose, because you can disarm some spirits pretty easily. Next up, though, I got Trapper. And Trapper's going E tier. Now, for whatever reason, you always get one or two people who want to argue that Trapper is a good kit and it can't be countered. Oh, well, I was running, and then they chased me, and now I win. And I'm just like... And I'm just, it's the most weird situation. Like, it has to be this specific situation. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of people could just spam build over and jump. Some people could just mine them if they wanted to. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to counter this. Like, it's not really a strong kit. So yeah, it's in E tier, but if somebody was chasing you super close and you spammed 400 of them, they'd probably fall in one. I'm just kidding. That's seriously what I get told a lot, though. I don't know. I don't think the kit's good whatsoever. Anyways, Trinity. Trinity, a B tier. And now Trinity may be like, his void form's not as good as it used to be, Jelly. Or his healing form is not as good as it used to be. Or, well, his healing form's still pretty good in squads, actually. But anyways, I put Trinity B tier just because you're getting a 2-for-1 deal. You get a healing kit. You get a solo healing lifesteal fighter kit. 2-for-1 deal. Both aren't bad. They can both weigh fights and change the who's gonna win because of the healing. So Trinity's B tier for me still. Not a bad kit to own. Next up, Vanessa. You charge up your bow, you shoot 3 shots. I made a video about this. Bow meta is a real thing, and it still is a thing. Hopefully in Season 3 we see something stopping bow meta, but I highly doubt it. Anyways, Vanessa just, triple knockback, more damage. The knockback's really the most disgusting part about the triple shot. And for that, I put Vanessa S tier. I think she's an outstanding kit. Bow meta's already really strong, and this just buffs it even more. And I even saw a video the other day, and even a developer uses Vanessa, and that should tell you something. If anything, though, we're going to move into Vulcan here. This guy, he's been the same thing for a long time. You get 1 emerald, you get 1 turret, you harass people trying to come to your base. Solid B tier kit for defending. You can't go wrong with a Vulcan. It's still a pretty decent kit, really annoying to go against occasionally, depending on how good the Vulcan player is. But yeah, next one, Warrior. Now, Warrior is not that strong of a kit. 10 iron off or whatever, 5 iron off leather, 10 off iron, nothing too wild here, right? And then you get Warrior armor, which is a little bit stronger than diamond armor. Nothing real special. Now, there's the glitch that when you buy armor on Warrior, anybody in diamond or emerald armored who dies will no longer be able to buy diamond armor in the shop. They'll only be able to buy emerald again. And then they'll lose their armor and they'll go back to iron armor. This is disgusting. And last time I said I wasn't going to count a glitch as a part of the kit. But considering that it's still around, it's just very niche because no one plays Warrior, it's S tier for me. Who else can delete diamond and emerald armored players for killing them one time? So this guy's going S tier because this is super unique. And even if it is a glitch, the developers aren't showing any signs of fixing it anytime soon. So, this guy's going to hang out in S tier for me. Next up, and last of all the kits here, is Wizard. Now, Wizard, his slow orb's pretty good. Not too shabby. He's got the lightning strike, which I think is way too slow, and anybody with a brain is still not going to stand in it unless you're in a point of power where they really need to get to you or something. But they're probably not going to be. So, yeah, this kit's not bad, but it's not the greatest. And for that, you know, it's in our average C tier. And that's how we're going to wrap up all 29 kits. Let me know which ones you guys agreed with, which ones you disagreed with, how your tier list would look compared to mine, or any sort of stuff like that. I always do appreciate you guys' comments. I always do appreciate going back and forth with you guys on debates on why you guys think a kit's a way it is and why I think it's a different way. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be wild. It can be fun and just a good old debate down there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. On that note, it is time to thank our members. So thank you, Darkest Troller. Thank you, Clockwork Gaming. Thank you, Insolence Axolotl. Thank you, Redwood Deadwood. And thank you, Mama Peace. Did it all backwards this time, boys. Anyways, I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.